sorry. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Roll call. Everyone is present. Attest of publication.
I saw it posted.
Thank you, Joni. And approval of the agenda. David has some changes.
We will make two changes. Our student reporter is playing in the pit right now for the final rehearsal for the musical, so she will not be here tonight. And we'll remove item 8B from the agenda on the fields, field study.
8B.
8B.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You bet.
So I ask for approval of the agenda with the changes.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with changes.
Second.
Motion by Shelley, seconded by Joni. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Lisa will read the district mission, vision, and values.
Mission, Bangor Pride, a small school building big futures. Vision, an innovative small school creating excellence through personalized learning and relationships for all. Values, student-centered safety, opportunities for all, small class sizes, fiscally sustainable, foster community, continuous improvement, professionalism. The Board of Education collective commitments. As a member of the Bangor School Board, I will be an active listener who is open-minded, respectful, and inquisitive. Together with one collective voice, we are committed to forward thinking while strategically prioritizing for our students, staff, and community now and into the future.
Thank you, Lisa. Public comment? Approval of minutes from October 8th.
I'll move to approve the minutes from the meeting held October 8th, 2025.
Second.
I'll abstain.
Who seconded them? Kelly? Motion made by Joni, seconded by Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. October 22nd, special board meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
I'll abstain. Motion made by Joni, seconded by Lisa. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Student report we'll have next month. Board president report. The November CISA board meeting was held here last Wednesday. We had a meal at 6, catered by Augie's, and then Dr. Brockup kindly gave the Board of Control a tour of all of our facility, the activity center, the elementary school, and the high school, and they were pretty impressed. After you left, David, some of them said, Julie, move to Cash and bring your people with you, make some magic happen. And a couple of other board members emailed me and said thank you for taking the time, and they think our facilities are beautiful. So we have something to be very proud of here. And David was a great tour guide. He hit everything, every piece of floor, every old wood that was put here and there, and it was good. It was good. David, any comments?
No, it was nice to have the group. I actually got a couple questions from superintendents that, hey, my board member came back and wanted to know about this, that. So it was fun from that perspective too. So yeah, it was very nice group. Nice to spend some time with them. So glad they enjoyed their time here.
I told my Cashin colleague it was not magic. It took lots of years of work and commitment from our community, and it does not happen overnight. So board terms ending information, the seats for Kelly at large and myself from the north are both end in April. So current board members, we if we decide not to run non-candidacy, we need to have our paperwork in by December 26th. All other candidacy paperwork is due by January 6th. And Jean is an excellent resource in the district office, and if she doesn't know the answer, she'll know how to find it for you. Thank you. Any questions? All right, Policy Review Committee. I believe they met on the 27th. Joni?
Yes, we did. It was Kelly and I. Lisa had other commitments, but I'll be honest, I thought I was bringing my good notes, and but we had good discussion. a lot like usual. We don't have a lot of choice. We just have to make sure that it still fits for Bangor School District. We had some that we polished, a lot that we just left the Neola recommendations as they were. But I thought we covered a lot of ground.
Thank you, Joni. Financial documents.
Financials, I got one really good question. There was a payment to the Legends Holdings for about $30,000. That was the second and final payment to our Pareto captive. Remember, we put that money in over the first 2 years that we're in the self-funded insurance. It's our money, but it has to stay in those accounts and those holdings as long as we are running our self-funded. If and when we ever stop, that money comes back to us at that point in time. So that was definitely an unexpected or a different one that was identified. If there are no other questions, we'd look for approvals on the financials for the month.
I'll make a motion to approve the financials as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Shelley, seconded by Joni. Any comments, further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Strategic planning process updates and drafts.
Yeah, I think this is just a really important time for us to have some conversations. I just want to say that our strategic planning session that we had in the library on the 29th, we had some CISA folks here and some teachers and admin and a couple parents invited and participating. Was a really, really good session. And I think it was important for all of us, but I think especially important for our new administrators to be able to kind of hear exactly what we mean when we are sharing our mission, vision, and values for the district. We talked a lot about Bangor Pride, the small school building, big futures, and what that means to our district, and agreed that that was foundational to who we are as a district, and that will stay as our mission. The vision out of the conversations of the evening, there was an effort to kind of change the personalized learning statement was one that really we couldn't all define and explain exactly what we meant. So we looked at changing that, and you can see in your packet there the kind of proposed new language of an innovative small school community committed to building pathways to excellence and belonging for all. As the vision for our school district. So really, just some tweaks to that, but a lot of great discussions around those pathways, opportunities for all students, and belonging for all students, feeling like they have a place and can succeed in this environment. I guess I'll stop there. Is there any discussion, thoughts? I know, Shelley, you weren't able to be there that night on the vision. Anything that people would add, subtract as you've had some time to process that?
Were you still going to do another meeting after that and go into depth?
Well, I think we can. I think that's part of the discussion tonight. What is the next step that we need to take from there? Is there thoughts that statement, that vision statement, is feeling better than what we had, or do we want to continue to talk about it?
So I'll just add, I was part of the vision statement group, and so was Brian. We thought personalized learning. We also thought that's an expectation now. But we really liked building pathways for all of our students, no matter what that pathway is. Maybe it's coming to school every day. Maybe it's secondary education. But we wanted to, in a way, individualize that that's open for everyone, building a pathway to excellence for all, no matter, what that excellence is for that person. Brian, do you have anything else about that?
The other thing I would just mention is we talked a lot about belonging, that concept of making sure that every single kid that comes here feels like this is the place that they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
It took a while, but this is what we ended up with. We had, we had a theme, and I will tell you, the CISA guy that worked with us, Jed,
Yep.
he was excellent. He's like picking at our brains, like, okay, I see something happening here. So that was really helpful. We just couldn't put it into words.
I guess my question is, I mean, I worked on the values and, obviously that was a lot of discussion. So is that where we are, I mean, if we agree on this vision, are we further defining the values, or is that?
I think we still go to the values. I just wanted to stop after the vision.
Okay, I just wanted to know what.
Yep.
Okay.
I think we want to talk about the values next, and I think, and I'll just go ahead and do that, and then we can come back and talk about it as a whole. So the values, we ended up with that grid, if you will, with the current values listed at the top, and just kind of those bullet points for what we felt those things meant. I thought the CISA team did a really, really good job. They took this back then, and our goal was to kind of create some statements, some sentences, some definitions by what we mean by student-centered. And I'll go back to the question that was asked multiple times. That doesn't mean you need to read all of that at the next board meeting, but you're still going to list you're going to read the list of student-centered safety opportunities for all small class sizes. But we are being more clear on what we mean by those. So they did a pretty nice job of taking those bullet points and making a couple of sentences for each of those. This is where I really think it would be powerful to have one more small group look at this, or large group if you want to bring the whole group together to look at that and make sure that vocabulary or the wording and those things is what we want it to be. There's a couple that as I read them, I have suggestions for just in putting the word all in here, or changing a word, that whole wordsmithing piece of it. But I think they did a good job of taking the bullet points that were developed during our meeting by the crew there, and starting to put those into some sentences that define each of those values for the district. So, I guess the next steps on that, I mean, you can have as much discussion as you'd like to have on that now. On some of those wordings, we can bring a small group together to really define those, and then, look to bring that back to the whole board again in a month.
I think I would like that
Okay.
option better, just because, I mean, this was a really good session. I felt like the input that we got from so many people and the ideas and just what one person thought versus the other person. I mean, we really put a lot of time into that. Mm-hmm. But I think that we still have more work to do before we can approve any statements.
Yeah, I'm not looking for approval tonight. This is just a discussion. That you've had a chance to let this marinate a little bit, and you're seeing some of the work that we've done. But yeah, we can come back. What would your suggestion be? A small group, or do we want to have another board study session where we just work on this for an hour?
I liked when we did a small group and we did our
Collective
statements. However, when we did this study, it was really fun to have, the people in that group that were willing and wanting to. Like, if those same people are willing and wanting to define it, I don't know why you wouldn't keep it open to whoever is interested in doing it. Yeah, like, I think the more the better.
Okay.
I just wanted to say, in my group, I thought a very good mix of, and I will shout out to Chappie, because I felt he always knew where, he was very familiar with where this came from, and he had that background, and he shared that. And there were some of us, and I was probably on the board at the time, but maybe not involved in it, and it was just very helpful. It really defined how we got here, and I thought that was extremely helpful. And then, we had a younger teacher who wasn't here, and so, just the light bulbs just kept going off. So I thought it was a good group.
Yeah. I think one of the important things to acknowledge too, I asked the question later in the evening. We did multiple surveys. We had the data. We had been able to study and hear what our graduating seniors had said about the district, what some of our families had said about the district, what our teachers had said, and we felt like we were encompassing that well into the current mission, vision, and values with the adjustments and the defining them the way that we were. So I think that was really important too. But I hear a recommendation to just invite that whole group back together to do a little bit more, kind of wordsmithing, and I would be completely in support of that if that's the desire.
I would like to as well, as someone that wasn't in the values group. I think it'd be nice for some of us to come back to that side and give our input and kind of dive in a little bit more and help define those even more.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah, we hit that hour and a half point, and I think we were all ready to be wrapped up at that point in time. But it's coming back to
But
it.
we were talking the whole time.
Yeah.
That was the funny part. When you got to the end, I think everybody was still talking.
Yeah.
So it wasn't.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, I will put out. I'm assuming a Wednesday night is probably the best. And then over the next couple weeks, 2 weeks from now is Thanksgiving, so we'll probably avoid that one. Could we do the Wednesday after Thanksgiving? What's that look like? I am sorry, I'm not available then.
Okay, are we ready to move on? Are you good, or do you
You
want
just
to?
figured out.
I'll get some dates and get them to you. All right. Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next, student cell phone policy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so Governor Evers passed into law that every school district must have a cell phone policy, and we have one, and the best part is we're already compliant. The main pieces of this is that the cell phone can't be out during instruction, and so when we look at the policy and what we have in the handbook for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, they have to keep it in their locker from morning bell to the end of the day bell. And then when we look at 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, anytime that they are within the classroom during instruction, they have to have it in a caddy. So they do not have access to it, and again, it's put away. The only times that they do have access are between classes and at lunch. And so the best part is within the handbook and the cell phone policy that we are already compliant.
And I think it does spell out the elementary school, but they're not allowed to have them at the elementary school. I don't think there's anything that prohibits them from being in a backpack or something, but they're not allowed to have them out there as well. So we're compliant at all levels, and I thought that was important. The law changed, and everybody's all, well, what are we going to do? We're there. So I wanted you guys to know that tonight.
So do we have any issues with smartwatches in the middle high school?
They wear them. I know that sometimes that they put their earbuds in and they can control their music that way. But a lot of kids they've just figured out how to open up the app, basically, put it in the caddy, walk away, and it's all just through Bluetooth that they can do it. But within the handbook, it says that they are allowed, given instructor permission. And so there are times that during class, if they're just working and they ask politely, the teacher will allow them to just listen to music.
Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, what's the lunch hour like? Is the lunch hour kids talking, or are lunch hour kids eating with their face in their phone?
Honestly, for us to walk around, when we allow them to go outside, that's nice. Because then they do get out, they go play. If we allow them to go in the gym, there's a group that does that, and there's I would say even a quarter of the kids that are in here. But once lunch starts, they eat, and a lot of times they're doing this, and they're just scrolling. And I do believe that it takes about 10 minutes, and they've done their social media, and then either they're outside playing in the gym doing stuff, or then they are just chatting with friends. It's not quiet, let me put it that way. There's noise, they're talking.
That's good.
So no change in the policy. Kids all know, same. We're just putting it on here for awareness.
Correct.
Okay.
And this is our policy, correct?
We have to adopt a policy by law, but what I'm letting you know is we already have a policy in place. So yeah, we will just stay with where we are. again, I think it was important that you guys know that
Yeah.
we're there, and we haven't fought huge resistance. I mean, it's been, a little bit of a challenge at the start of the year, but after it's established, we're not fighting.
But it wasn't new this year, right? Like, this is what,
Not brand new, enforced a little bit differently. The caddies are a little bit more heavily enforced than they were in the past. The full period versus you could have it at the last 5 minutes, those types of things. It did get a little bit more strict this year.
Any other questions? All right. Anyone else? Thank you. All right, School District of Bangor Alternative Education Pathways.
So we are required to actually, per DPI, have an at-risk program on file. And so basically we modeled ours off of Royal High School. And when we look at what we're trying to do for our students, look at it as a triangle. And it's a 3-tiered approach. And so that first tier is just universal instruction, everything that happens within the classroom. And for some students, that's enough. But what about the kids that misses? So then we look at the second tier, and that's where we look at cardinal time and academic assistance. And what we really needed to do, though, is define what academic assistance is. We didn't really have an entrance plan. We didn't have an exit plan. Just kids were placed there. So working with our new at-risk teacher, we came up with basically a model that we're going to follow for academic assistance. And then that tier 3 is really the at-risk part. And so we have an at-risk program, but again, it was defining how are kids placed there. Is it possible for them to exit out? What are we doing to monitor their progress throughout the year? And so putting those pieces into place. We have Edgenuity, which are online classes that they can take in lieu of in-person classes, so that's part of it as well. We just introduced this year the GED option 2. So again, that's part of that at-risk program. If they're not making it within the regular education classroom, what can we offer them? We have the HSED program through TC, and then we also have the Challenge Academy at Fort McCoy. So it's putting it all within a comprehensive document. The nice part is now that we can talk about the GED option 2 and HSED, being able to have something to present to parents versus just talking to them, but to give them something that's visual to say, these are the options, these are the pathways, so let's look at what's best for your child in this situation.
Any questions for Mr. Wopat?
This does not require action. This is,
Yeah, it is an
oh,
action.
it is, okay.
I apologize. I'm putting
Okay.
the recommendation.
It is or it's not?
It is.
The recommendation is motion to approve the
Yeah.
at-risk Bangor Alternative Education Pathways Plan as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Shelley, seconded by Jessica. Any other questions or comments?
I guess I'd just like to make a comment. I think it's a great thing to have, like I said, something physical and visual there to hand to the parents and, go home, discuss, look at, and make decisions from there. So I think this is a great move forward.
Can I add something really quick here too? Just watching this tie into the vision and everything that we've encompassed earlier this evening, I think it's perfect, really. I don't know how else to say it, but I think it's a beautiful thing.
All right, I have a motion and I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, moving to policy updates.
I would add just a couple things there, and I think that one of the things that I think we're most excited about in the policy updates was a policy that we brought forward to Neola to ask them to update, and that was our academic honesty policy. The academic honesty policy has been in place. You remember we also had an AI policy that basically said AI exists and we're aware of it. We've updated those a little bit. So we had a team that went to CISA and learned a little bit about this. I think I shared this with you last month that we were working on AI. Part of that was how do we use AI appropriately, and the academic honesty policy was the place where what we created that day, what we developed that day, fit the best for our district. So that was reviewed by the policy review committee and replaced. And Neola, instead of Neola's credit at the bottom of it, it's our district credit, and they like it and would like to share it with some of the other districts because what we developed is solid, and it's getting us to start to allow, with some guardrails and some expectations, the use of AI as an incredibly powerful learning tool. I think the other part of that readiness that we went through that's not necessarily in the policy, but we have some requirements as we allow students to use some of these things, some of these engines, these tools, to make sure that we're getting parent consent. So those of you that are parents are going to be getting an email shortly. John and I are working on where you need to go in online and actually consent so that your kids can use the apps and the tools that are available to us. So some requirements that they go hand in hand. But obviously the academic integrity and the way that we're teaching it, the way that we're using it, that particular policy takes an important role in that. So if you didn't read that one, I would really encourage you to go back and do that. Again, like Joni said, the rest of the policies for the most part are, Neola's recommendations based on changes in the laws, case law, and some of them just updating so that we can, I know there's one, they're trying to get the non-discrimination statement, so it's basically in one point in the policy, and all other policies refer to it. So if the non-discrimination policy changes, it changes in one place, not in 40 different policies. So that we started that work in this group of updates as well. So it's those types of things that we're looking for approval on. So I talked too much, but looking for approval of the policies as reviewed by the Policy Review Committee.
I'll make a motion to approve the policy updates from volume 34, number 2, as reviewed by the PRC.
Motion made by Joni, seconded by Lisa. Any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, moving on to Schedule C addition.
Yeah, so this was brought to my attention, and we had some conversations about Schedule C, assistant coaches, and varsity assistant coaches, and those types of things. We wanted to address this before the basketball season, the winter sports seasons fully get underway, so coaches understand what they're getting paid this year. And the concern was. The concern was we're trying to equitably staff our teams and have the right number of coaches for the right number of kids and all of those types of things. And that goes up and down over time. There's also been a desire for the varsity coaches to be able to have an assistant. Volleyball did that this year, and they actually split compensation within Schedule C to give that varsity assistants part of the money that they were all kind of entitled to signing up. So with that, the thought is, why are we splitting those? And I think the concern is if we have people that want to coach and we have a need for them to coach, we want to be able to support that. So I had a conversation with Lisa, and I said, well, what if we put a varsity assistant in place for each sport? And that's what I put in the agenda, and that's probably what you reviewed ahead of time. As we talked about that, and I talked to a number of the board members about this, and we had some conversations, I really think it comes down to more complexity than that, because the schedule is not necessarily even as it is right now. So what I have, and I just handed you in paper, and it is in board docs, the proposal that I'm bringing to you tonight acknowledges that there were some inequities, but we want to create more equity across all 8 of our varsity sports. So if you take a look at football, there are currently 2 teams, a JV and a varsity team. There are 4 coaches. So one night a week, the JV 2 coaches go to a JV game. 2 coaches are still here with varsity. Would we love more? Yes. Do we have volunteers? Yes. But I think from a district standpoint, that's an appropriate level of staffing. If we get lots more numbers in football, can we justify adding another coach? I think we can. If we added a C team, which I don't know that anybody else in the conference would, could we justify it? Yes. But as numbers fluctuate, but based on where we are right now, I think the 4 coaches is appropriate. Girls basketball has long had the varsity coach and then 2 additional coaches. But in the time that I've been here, and I think longer than that, they've had only 2 teams. And that was one of the things that we looked at this year, saying we weren't going to fill that C team position because there isn't a C team. So in adding or kind of converting that C team in the current schedule, converting it to a varsity assistant, so there's a varsity assistant available and a JV coach, we actually save a little bit of money from what's on Schedule C, and you'll see that over on the right-hand side. The boys basketball has 3 teams. Last year it didn't, but this year it does. We're planning on 3 teams. They have 3 coaches. So we would allow, again, we're having a hard time filling those positions, but we would allow for a varsity assistant so there could be 2 coaches just with varsity. Track, there's a boys team and a girls team. There are currently 4 coaches. Again, as numbers fluctuate, as they continue to build a great track program, we may need to add another one, but I think the 4, based on our current numbers, is appropriate at this point in time. Baseball has 2 teams consistently in the time that I've been here, a JV team and a varsity team, and they've had 2 paid coaches during that time. I think it would be appropriate to allow them a varsity assistant and make that equitable. Softball has only had 1 team in the time that I've been here, a varsity team. They've not had a JV team in the time that I've been here, but they've had 2 coaches. So I would say converting that second coach to be a varsity assistant, if there's ever enough to have a JV team, we add the JV team at that point in time. But so that is calculated in there. Volleyball then, you saw this year, there were 3 teams, 3 coaches. They each sacrificed some of their compensation to create a varsity assistant. This would allow them to get their full compensation that they would have had and compensate the varsity assistant with this new proposal. Cross country has asked for a couple of years and for an assistant. There's truly a boys team and a girls team, and there's 1 coach. Now they're fortunate that they've got the middle school team that travels with them, so that the middle school coach kind of becomes that varsity assistant. But it's not a true varsity assistant. That's a JV coach or a middle school coach. We don't count those for any of those other sports. So I think allowing a varsity assistant for cross country, it would be warranted. I think having a male and a female there would be amazing if we could do that. I think the same thing for track. Currently, that's 4 guys, and they do it well. But kind of paying attention to those types of things when it's possible. At the bottom of that, you see that any of these may change in time based on numbers. So as numbers in a program grow, we need to be able to add if the team grows or take away. The conversations I had and we looked at the head coaches are 10% of base, the assistant coaches are 7% of base, so making the varsity assistant who doesn't have their own team that they're coaching a 5% number. You can see that number on that page at $2,165. $21,000, and we'd be recruiting all kinds of some great coaches around here, but $2,165 for that. Again, I'm putting allow. I'm not requiring them to do that. If they feel like they have a viable candidate and they want to build that to their program, we allow them to do that. If they don't and they can't fill it, then it's vacant. It's not that money goes to the other coaches because they're not filling that at this point in time. So the original kind of the spitfire of let's just allow everybody a varsity assistant was about a $16,000 cost impact to the district. Once we really had some conversations, and I think if we look at this from an equity standpoint, I'm looking at a cost of about $7,000 to the district. it's doable. It's possible within our budget to do that. I think it's positive for our district to do that. I've said it with Schedule C. I think some of the relationships, some of the team building, some of those experiences that happen on our athletic facilities in the other areas of Schedule C are some of the most valuable for our kids, and we want to support those opportunities for all. So looking at that, based on the original conversation, what I put in, which I'm sure you reviewed, and having some conversations and feedback with all of you, our administrative recommendation, my administration, the admin team has looked at this. This is the recommendation that I would put forward for you guys for discussion and approval. Again, with that caveat that things may change, and I'll keep you posted as numbers increase, decrease in a program. If we're willing to increase when the coaches go up, we have to be willing to decrease when the numbers go down too. And that's hard because we've always had this, and this is a great coach. It is really hard, but I think we have to be able to really understand that for the long term. So that's my attempt at really investing in and supporting, and this is focusing on athletics and our high school sports at this point in time.
So if we open this up and we now say that you can allow a varsity assistant in these various categories, once we approve this, they don't have to come to you and quantify this need at this point anymore, because we're saying as a varsity program, we are saying you are allowed? Or how is that going to?
I think that's a legitimate question, because the question was posed to me. We are incredibly fortunate right now to have Dan Rampenstrider running our cross country program, and we have great numbers. And we've had great coaches before, but we've had numbers of 6-7 kids out. We've had numbers of very few students that are out for cross country. That's just using that as an example. Does that warrant having a varsity assistant when you only have that many? And I think the answer is any of these changes can be made, changes can be made to these over time based on the numbers and the number of teams. If we add a JV team to girls softball, that'd be a great thing for our conference I would absolutely support that at that point in time. If we lose a C team for one of our programs, I think that plays into it too. Lisa brought up the question, what if girls basketball and boys basketball are both at 30 kids? And, there's no C teams for the girls to play, so they still keep on 2 teams. Well, maybe that does justify, some addition at that point in time. I've said it a couple of times. I've said it to a couple of you. This is the first year where I've put that Schedule C on monthly. The complexity of this and the ever-changing nature of it is a lot. So I want you to see that as we go. And I think ultimately, I think there just needs to be a little flexibility for, mostly Brian and Paul and I to sit down and make those adjustments that make sense. And hopefully you trust the fact that we're looking at the right numbers and the right factors to add or decrease. In my mind, this is an effort today to make kind of more equitable across all of the sports what their opportunities are for coaches.
And just some background, I didn't just come to David and say, oh, I think we should pay our coaches more. There is a more to this story than me just looking at it. And I take responsibility for it too, but back in July when Schedule C was voted, I didn't see the line crossed out that we were going to eliminate one of the girls' basketball coaches. If I would have paid attention to it or seen it, I probably would have questioned it. I didn't, my fault. And that particular coach found out 1 week before the season started that he was going to be docked a position. So that's kind of what prompted this conversation. And number one, I think that's hard to go into a season and you find out a week before that you're down one coach. Number two, like what are the parameters? Like, okay, so the girls have 24, the boys have 27. That's a difference of 3 kids. I mean, I suppose the girls could say, okay, yeah, I have 3 teams, but they're not going to play anybody because there aren't any teams. So, but
And
then you
neither-
look at the
neither of the
boys,
boys.
and there's one freshman team in the entire conference. So what are they playing? Like 5 games? Like I don't know. So that's kind of what prompted the conversation. I also don't like, I guess, seeing a varsity coach or assistant coaches, having to share their salary. I mean, if the numbers warrant it, like, why isn't there, compensation? Now, do you need to pay 10? No. So just so everybody understands, it wasn't just me looking at this saying, oh, yeah, we need to pay our athletic coaches more money. So this is kind of what started this conversation. And I guess
and I
that's
will
where
say,
I'm at.
as a district, we should have done better job communicating on that change to Schedule C. All of the people, that are involved in that have access to that document. We had conversations about that. We're constantly adding and, adding coaches and taking coaches off that type of thing. So it was very clear all along. It didn't get communicated to the coaches, and I agree with Lisa. That's on us. That's I'll own that if I need to, but that's something that we need to do a better job of. But that goes back to that taking away when they're making it equitable. When things are down, when numbers are down.
And I think it's crazy, too, that we expect the cross-country coach, and I don't know, I might not be exactly right on the numbers, but I'm going to throw out 30. Was there about 30? Or 25, 30? Cross-country runners?
I don't have them in front of
It's
me.
a big
Coach.
number, I know that.
But it's a boys' team and a girls' team, and we're expecting one individual to.
I think it's probably 30 if you count the middle school. I don't think you had that many high school. Dave, you were at those. Middle school separate, yep. Yeah, so you had 2 coaches. You had a middle school coach and a high school coach. And, the middle school did have really, really good numbers this year, which is awesome. Varsity, the high school team had a boys and a girls team, which they weren't, I don't know, there was probably, I can't give you that number, 16, 18 max maybe at the high school level.
I do think the statement that you made that you've added this to the board docs every month is very valid, because unfortunately for years I think this was a stagnant schedule.
Yep.
And it didn't matter if you had 20 in a JV or if you had, whatever. It just, this was it, and that's the way we roll. So I do think it needs to be evaluated as, as the seasons come and go.
I think my question would be what Lisa kind of just said, is so you have a C team boys basketball. You could have a C teams girls basketball, but we took that off the schedule. Why wouldn't you keep that on the schedule like the boys basketball if the numbers are the same?
Because there literally isn't a C team, I think, is the problem.
But that's the same for boys.
Right, it was the same.
Similar this year. Yeah,
I was just like, I guess my question would be, if you're going to keep the boys, you would keep the girls. If the numbers are the same, that would be my question, because I think it is going to come down to numbers, quite honestly.
and we go through this with classrooms, right?
All the time.
When you're at 25 and 25 is your number and you get one more kid and you've got a 26 and a 25, do you really split that to 3 sections at that point in time? Just because you went one over. And that's that. I know districts that do that, and it's really expensive. There has to be some understanding of the dynamics of that time period. I think the difference is, how many years has it been since there's been a C team for girls?
I don't know if there ever has been, but just because we can field one and nobody else can, I suppose we could go play on Alaska 15 times or something. And I think he does do that every once in a while, just to give maybe some of the, younger girls an opportunity to play a game where you don't send everybody. Does that mean they have a third team? Probably not. But I don't know. I just think there's value to it. Like last year they had 4 coaches. And, if they still had 4 coaches this year, and then you come in and get told, okay, now you only have 2 salaries, I don't
Do
know.
the boys play?
They only had 3 paid last year.
Correct. They had 4 coaches, 3 paid positions. But if they had 4 coaches this year, they would only have now 2 paid positions. So I guess we just wanted to understand why or how, or same with any other sport. If football all of a sudden has 50 participants, does that warrant another coach? Or whatever sport it is, volleyball, doesn't really matter. I just don't know how we get to that point, I guess.
Who do the boys C team play?
That is the question.
This year, the only
Who does
C
the
team
boys C
in the
team play?
conference is Hillsborough. So it would be Hillsborough twice, maybe more than that, and then any other schools that they can get. So there'd be larger schools that they would line up with.
So back to Lisa's comment to some degree. So would we be putting this in place now for girls' basketball? So now,
Well, what we've had approved is we weren't going to pay that C team coach. This would basically be putting a varsity assistant back into that mix.
into that program?
Yep,
But also adding a varsity boys assistant too.
making it available. Again, they haven't been able to fill the 3
I'm
positions
just,
that they have.
I was meaning
Yep.
the number, like if you have 30 boys and you have 30 girls and you have 4 coaches and you have 3 coaches. That's what I was meaning more of. Not finding coaches, I know is extremely hard. So I think you're right, this is going to be moving, but I think we have to keep in perspective the numbers. And I agree about the cross-country part, like, I definitely think that they need help and assistance, and if they can get it, I am more than happy to help that.
I mean, if nobody has any other questions, I think this is a good compromise to what we had talked about earlier in the week. So I'll make a motion to approve the addition of varsity assistant coaches to whatever teams that we discussed.
As
Each
presented.
of the
presented.
Each of the 8.
And then, but also allowing, I mean, I don't know how you want to say that, but allowing, I guess, some leniency year to year of, having that discussion
Yep,
of
absolutely.
what is needed. Do we need to add? Do we need to reduce? Whatever that might be, but
And I think from my standpoint, that would again be Brian and Paul, myself, the coaches, sitting down, having a conversation, and if we feel that that is warranted, bringing it to you guys and putting it there. I haven't done that. We've tried to do it within Schedule C. That's been kind of a stagnant document, but what you're telling me is you want to hear that and you want to respond to those things, and I'm 100% on board with that. We'll hear out those situations and we'll fluctuate as we need to.
I think it would be great to hear if the girls' team needs it and wants it and they ask for it, that they get the same opportunity as the boys. I would be in favor of that.
Okay.
I'll second that to Lisa's.
Okay. So Lisa made a motion. Tina seconded. Any other questions, discussion?
I have one more, I guess, request as far as the Schedule C. If sometime maybe we can put it on closed session and just go through the entire Schedule C and just
Yep.
get an idea of what it all really is.
Yep. We definitely
Not
I
just
mean,
athletics.
Yeah, we do that, absolutely. We do that we look at it every year when we're looking at compensation, but we can look at it deeper, for sure.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, I have a motion by Lisa, seconded by Tina. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Good discussion. All right, personnel. Dr. Brockup.
Yeah, you guys have been in the loop on this, and this is not new, but Mark Hansen has worked for the district as a bus driver for many years since retiring from the fire department, the military fire department. Just an incredible guy. He actually spent quite a little time riding with me. Was there the day I took my driving test, and I learned a lot from Mark. Super calm nature. Had a booming commanding voice, but didn't have to use it on the bus. I mean, the kids responded to him, were respectful of him, and just so dependable that we could count on him to be there. And fighting some health issues, and is not going to be able to return to us as a bus driver. So he is retiring effective October 30th, 2025, and we wish him the very best and looking for board approval on that retirement.
I'll move to approve the retirement of school bus driver Mark Hansen, effective October 30th.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Joni, seconded by Shelley. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Going to let Mr. Luke share the next one.
All right, good evening. So we have Jessica Newman. As you know, Brenda Bratz is retiring, and so we're replacing her. And so Jessica Newman, we're hiring her. She'll be starting on the 17th of this month, and there'll be some right seat, left seat with Brenda so that she can learn the position. She's in a program right now to become a licensed interpreter, and she is very passionate about supporting the deaf community. That came through loud and clear when we interviewed her. In addition to that, she is also very passionate about supporting special needs. In particular, she has family members who have Down syndrome, and so that is also a big plus in the position that she's going to be taking. So, yeah, I mean, I think we found a diamond in the rough. It was difficult. We didn't know who we were going to find, and I think we got really lucky in that hire.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the hire of Jessica Newman as elementary special ed para sign language support effective November 17th, 2025.
I'll second.
Motion by Shelley, second by Jessica. Any questions? Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
I bring forward a hire for the high school, middle school part-time paraprofessional lunch support. We're looking at Jocelyn Paff. We had two candidates that we looked into, and in the end, Jocelyn stood out. Comes highly recommended. She's worked in our district as a substitute. She has established relationship with our students, knows our school culture, and is an involved parent. So I'm looking for board approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the hire of Jocelyn Paff as part-time middle school, high school para and lunchroom support effective 11/3/25.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Joni. Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Administrative reports. We'll start out with Mr. Chaplin.
Thanks, Julie. So the first item on there for me is the anniversary of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. This is the 50th anniversary of that law. Prior to that, schools could serve kids with disabilities if they wanted to, but this law guaranteed that schools have to serve students with disabilities. Obviously, that's evolved over the last 50 years, but again, guaranteeing rights for students with disabilities. Unfortunately, you work with a law, and obviously things change, and this particular law has not been reauthorized or updated since 2004. So you're working with over 20-year-old guidelines for that. Some of the things have been updated through other laws, like the Every Student Succeeds Act. But again, specifically for students with disabilities, that law hasn't been reauthorized or updated since 2004. And given everything else that's going on, that's probably not going to be a number one priority anytime soon. But it really does probably need to be updated. And then the second one on there is last week was School Psychologist Awareness Week. Awareness, not appreciation, just awareness.
I guess we missed that.
I was going to say, I think we appreciate you very much.
Well, now you're aware.
Any questions for Mr. Chaplin? Thank you. Mr. Luke?
All right, thank you. So, kind of a light note to start with. Within the last month, we had all-school bingo at the elementary school, and I guess it's been talked about before, and we just said, let's do it. Why not? Let's not talk about it, but do it. And it was pretty awesome. So I was in the conference room, and I had set up a Google Meet with all the classrooms, and we actually, I shouldn't say all the classrooms, because the fifth graders went down and assisted. They teamed up with the kindergartners, and so I would, call out the various combinations of letters and numbers, and then you could see the kids, or usually as a teacher, go running up to the boards. They could tap on there, unmute themselves and yell out bingo, and it was just an awesome time. And you can imagine when I called 067 how that went. So anyway, it was great. And Brian and I are going to share a couple of bullet points here tonight. So supporting Mrs. Adams. I am, by the way, feeling a little bit too hairy down here between these two bookends. Might need to fix that. We had recently, I think it was 2 weeks ago, some middle schoolers decided. I realize that's kind of your area, but I was there assisting them, and so they had some middle schoolers who did a brat fry down at Hanson's, organized the whole thing, got their classmates on board, and it was pretty cool to see. So it was just a wonderful event, and at that event, one of the students was, I guess, paraphrase, I guess I'm not quoting, said, Bangor's a small town, but we sure do know how to raise money. And I thought that was pretty cool. And also in line with supporting Mrs. Adams at parent-teacher conferences last month, we had some students, some fifth grade students who, again, completely on their own, not prompted by any adults, decided to do a bake sale. So they had a bake sale at parent-teacher conferences and raised some money for Mrs. Adams. So between those two events, over $1,000 was raised for her. Veterans Day, another shared bullet point by Brian and I, and the only part that I really will probably comment on is I thought it was very cool, and of course speaking as a veteran, as well as a principal of the elementary school, the Hearts. So I don't know if any of you were there yesterday, but the Make a Difference Club, the fifth grade Make a Difference Club, made special hearts that are red, white, and blue, and then they handed them out to veterans. They went into the crowd and found veterans and handed them to the veterans. It was really... It was very touching. So that was awesome. And then finally, I just wanted to bring to light that, we have the new Into Reading curriculum, and there are, of course, growing pains with that whenever you're changing a curriculum. And we're experiencing those growing pains. And so one of the things that I'm working towards is we're going to do it in 2 days when we have a PD day, but I've decided to move it down the road a little bit to December. We just have too many things on the agenda for this Friday, and that is having some virtual meetings with Royals teachers, because they adopted Into Reading the same curriculum last year. I've been in communication with their principal and their reading specialist, and they went through some of the exact same growing pains that we're going through now. So I want our teachers to be able to collaborate with their teachers and, learn some lessons and be able to, see some light at the end of the tunnel. So.
Any questions for Mr. Luke? Thank you. Mr. Wopat?
Yeah, to piggyback off of what he talked about with Mrs. Adams, we did the fundraiser, and I don't think there's two of us that could prove that we were supposed to only raise $3,000. And the community, they stood up and they came together, and $6,000 later, we're a little bit colder now that the weather is changing. But to have the assembly last week was magical. It was Bangor Pride at its fullest, to see the community there. WKBT Channel 8 did an incredible story. In between our student and Mr. Burkhart did an amazing job interviewing. I had a chance to talk to Miss Adams afterwards, and she is, I wouldn't even say 100%. It's 1,000% touch. She knows that we are thinking about her, we are standing next to her, we are supporting her the entire time. October 28th, we went through a threat assessment drill during Cardinal time. We know all that is going on within our country, and so it really is about being proactive and preparing the students for the just-in-case situation. Walked the staff and students through basically how to deal with hide, fight, or flight with discussion questions. Then we did a 3-minute simulation in terms of actually running through the drill, having the students then choose what they were going to do and role-playing it out. And then the remainder of the time was used with just follow-up questions, talking students through the scenario of, okay, now we did this here in our classroom, but what if you were in the Commons? What if you were in the library? We're just preparing them for just those situations. We'll do probably 1 or 2 more before the end of the year. And then the last thing is the Veterans Day program that we had yesterday. I want to give a public shout out to Gary Altoff. Did an amazing job helping put this thing together. The Bangor American Legion Post 40, the VFW Post 802078, and the American Legion Auxiliary Unit number 40. Guy Tempe came and spoke yesterday. Mr. Jacobson with the 5th grade Make a Difference Club. Mr. Ross, Mr. Sattergaski, and Miss Sass with the band and choir. That gym was full. And to have the elementary on one side, high school on the other, and community sitting in the corner, and then all those vets in the middle. Again, it's just a highlight of how great this district is. So we thanked our vets yesterday.
Any questions for Mr. Wopat? Thank you. Dr. Braca?
So I didn't put them on here, I apologize, but I do have a couple notes for you. One, the musicals this weekend, Mamma Mia, going to be a pretty darn good show. So if you can make it up there Friday night, Saturday, or Sunday for the matinee, it's going to be cool.
What time?
7 o'clock.
7?
7 o'clock on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is at 2. So
right.
the kids are ready. The facility's ready. We are so lucky to have that facility. Kelly was up tonight helping with some decorations. I was showing her the new lights are here. They're functional. It's going to be like a party at the end. So check it out. It's good.
The set's amazing. Thank you, David.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun. So I'm really excited for our kids to be able to show off all they've been working on really since August, with 4 nights a week of going at it. So a lot there. Our winter sports are getting started. Middle school basketball has started. We didn't have our student report tonight. Girls basketball started Monday. Boys basketball starts next week. I know gymnastics is off and running. I was talking to the girls today. They were a little sore after the first couple days of practice, and as they should be. But lots of good stuff there. I did want to share. I have been doing a lot of work. I pulled from the agenda that baseball, softball diamond. Doing a lot of work, trying to get the best value for our investment into those facilities, and I feel really excited about where we're headed. Hopefully, a month from now, I can come to you with some additional work on that. Not only have we been looking at baseball, softball facilities, we've been looking at the track as well, and some maintenance on that track, and trying to get some of those numbers. One of the other building and grounds priorities was the masonry and the tuck pointing and some of the expansion joints on this building. I had a great phone call today after a visit last week or the week before from the masonry company who did all the masonry for our elementary school. I was really pleased with Donald Berger Masonry, and working with them right now to get some numbers on this building, and excited about getting some of those repairs done this spring on this building. On the financial, all of that's financial, right? Trying to figure out the best value for our dollars there. On the financials, Fund 46, we do have a large portion of that, 380,000-ish in a CD right now that will come due at the end of the week. Correct? A little bit more than that.
It's more than that. It's over 400, I think.
It's over 400. I apologize. I think it went in at 380, and it's grown. So a little over 400 in the CD that will come due. Angie and I got looking at that, and we look at it coming due this time of year is not when we want it to come due. Any large purchases of the boilers, the roofs are going to be a May, June, July type purchase. So we looked at turning it to a 6-month CD, and the bank has said, leave it in the 12-month CD, get the better rate, and they will waive any penalties if we take it out early. So very appreciative of our community partners and the bank here in town, the First National Bank, and the work that they do with us. With that, we have about an additional $100,000 that's not in a CD right now that we've added to that. So on Friday, we will roll forward that $100,000 into that, making it a little over $500,000 in the CD. And we'll get you the new rate as soon as it comes out. And then there's going to be a few of you that'll have to stop in the bank and sign that new certificate of deposit. So good news on our investments for the future bigger facility projects that we know are coming down the road. The last thing, talking long-term future, we had a really nice meeting with Baird today. You know, we a month ago or just a few weeks ago approved the budget for the year where we were able to over levy slightly in the fund in the debt levy. And remember, we've got that $1.5 million payment that was out 10 years, so out 9 years now, that the thought was we'd probably push that out to the 20th year, because right now we're only financing things out through 19 years. We actually developed a strategy today that we'll be looking to do it towards the end of the year, where we take that debt or take that money that we've over levied now and put into an escrow, which basically we're spending it now, which means we get aided on it next year. And it's going to save us interest over the next 9 years. And if we do that maybe once or twice in the next 9 more years, we will eliminate that 20th year completely, plus save some interest along the way. So they were really good conversations. I love when we get Brian on the phone or on a Zoom and showing spreadsheets, some really good information there. But that long-term prioritizing strategy for the district, I guess I wanted to just share some of the things that I've been working on with our new budget in place after last month to make sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck and investing wisely our community resources. So that's all I've got, unless there's any questions for me.
I'm going to ask one question. The power outage.
Yeah. Goodness. How did we not talk about the power outage? I talked to some elementary students that they thought it was the greatest day of their entire life. They were in an interior room, and it got dark, and they ended up spending most of the afternoon in the hallway learning, and they thought that was amazing. So that was really cool. I do have to, you guys who can speak, but I do have to tell this story. So the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders were in the gym at the elementary school with our high school choir, and they were practicing for the Veterans Day program. When the lights go out and the power goes out, it takes a minute for our generators to kick in and do what they're supposed to be doing. And I say it takes a minute, it takes some time. Well, I have 3 people in my house that were in that room at that time. And I said, well, how long did it take before the emergency lights came on? And they said, oh, it had to be like minute and a half, and I'm like, how long? A hot minute, that was the... So I went on the cameras, and we have cameras that show you by the second, and I went in and I watched exactly when it came off, and I wrote down that time, and then I asked Dave how long it was, and he says, maybe like 6-7 seconds. No, I think he said 10, but sorry, I had to throw that in. But, and I'm like, it was 17 seconds. So it was 17 seconds of darkness, and I think it felt longer because I think every 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade grader in that room was screaming at the top of their lungs. So it might have felt longer, but other than that, other than figuring out, our bathrooms are dark in this building, so getting some flashlights so that we can, unfortunately, all of us depend on what for our flashlights? Our cell phones, which we really shouldn't have in the bathroom. Well, so we did find some flashlights and got through that. So it was out for 4.5 hours before it came back on. When I took a drive and I found the village folks shortly after it went out, about a half hour, we should be back up. And obviously that number was wrong. I don't think it would have changed anything we did. Our systems worked, they did what they were supposed to be doing. And our teachers just kept teaching. Our wireless network was working and all of their devices are battery powered. So, I mean, they kept learning. So it was an adventure. And again, some of the kids loved it. So I don't know if you guys would add anything, but those were my fun stories from it.
Can I ask a question? Just because I was out of the state when all of this happened, but the following day, the phone lines were out too?
Yes, so we had two systems. The phones, I believe, well, I know the HVAC system, when it reset the date wrong, so then our system was off because, and I don't know, what was the issue with the phone, John?
The phone was just our phone provider that provides it goes over the internet now, all the phone stuff, but they had to basically restart their modem on site here. They were communicating slightly, but not fully.
So I'm going to share a story, if that's okay, because I was in Nevada and Las Vegas, and my daughter had called home, and the phone line went dead when my mother was on the phone with her, and she could not get through to the school. So if the police showed up, that was my mother's doing.
All right.
It was handled.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
No.
Dr. Brockup? Okay. All right. Thank you. So removal of items from the consent agenda, current openings. Some of these have been filled or we're in the process of filling, but there's still some open. And then the Scheduled C changes.
I think the important thing to Schedule C, we obviously made some tweaks tonight that we'll make some adjustments on. But the three significant changes, Kelly Laufenberg is not going to come back. We already have a lead on that for middle school volleyball. Tim Wazinski is going to coach 7th grade boys basketball, or is coaching 7th grade boys basketball. And Tim Langer is going to jump over to JV basketball back and forth a little bit until the middle of December, and then take over JV basketball after that. So those are the significant changes that I kind of listed on that, and then I'll tweak that for next month with our new additions.
Okay. If there aren't any removal of items from the consent agenda, I ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Shelley, seconded by Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. I ask for adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Is that you? Motion made by Joni, seconded by Tina. To adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everyone.